Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. So Marvel and Sony are down to like the last 3 actors for the new Spider-Man. They're engaged in a slap fight to the death to find out who's going to be Spider-Man for the next 7 years. Because remember, it's going to be Civil War and then a standalone Sony trilogy. Supposedly, Marvel really wants Charlie Plummer, Sony really wants Tom Holland, and the other person, the X Factor, is Matthew Lintz. All very young actors. It gives you an idea for what Spider-Man is going to look like in these films. He'll be like a little kid just starting high school. The idea is that in Civil War, he'll be like a freshman in high school. Then in the first Sony film, he'll be a sophomore, then junior, then senior in the last film. So you get the idea. Even if it takes like 7 years for them to make all these movies, the actor will still be in his mid-20s by the time they get to the 4th film, if they want to re-up that actor's contract. Amongst, many other problems, that was always a problem before, actors aging out of the role. Andrew Garfield is still pretty young, but this is part of a big creative reboot, so of course they're going to go with a new actor. The only Marvel film that we know Spider-Man's going to be in right now is Civil War, but he could appear in Avengers Infinity War. It's still a long ways off. The terms of the Marvel-Sony deal say that Spider-Man is part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, even though Sony still owns the character. So whenever they get to like the standalone Spider-Man films, they'll take the lion's share of the profits, but Marvel does have creative input on the casting and the stories that they go with. It's still very much Sony Spider-Man, but when you see like a big boardroom full of people arguing about what they want to do with the character and the stories, it's just that, Marvel has a seat at the table now. Brian Michael Bendis actually told some funny stories about being brought in to consult on the Amazing Spider-Man films. He made it sound like those films were made by a corporate boardroom full of people who weren't really familiar with the comic books. The good thing now is that Kevin Feige has a seat at that table, and he is Mr. Comic Book. There's no other executive at his level that has his familiarity with the characters. So if you don't have faith in Sony, have faith in Kevin Feige. And tangentially, because of that, people like Brian Michael Bendis, Dan Slott, like really good Spider-Man writers, will also get a lot more input that people will actually listen to. Bendis said that of all the input that he gave to the Sony people about The Amazing Spider-Man, the Andrew Garfield version of the character, the only thing that made it into the movie were the mechanical web shooters. It's like they took all of his ideas and just kind of threw them in a waste bin, and it just went with mechanical web shooters. Because the actors they're considering are so young, you might not be super familiar with the stuff they've done before. My initial favorite is Charlie Plummer. I like him better in Granite Flats than I like Tom Holland in Wolf Hall. Wolf Hall is an amazing TV series, and both actors are great, so even if they go with one over the other, I don't think it's going to make a huge difference in terms of the quality of the film. I know even less about Matthew Lintz. He's kind of like the X Factor. He's done a lot of TV and smaller movies, but the stuff that he has done doesn't really give you a sense for what his Spider-Man might be like. He's in that Adam Sandler movie Pixels, but that's not out for a couple more weeks. So be sure and go see that. You get a good idea of what Matthew Lintz might be like. And if you guys didn't know, Charlie Plummer is an American actor. Tom Holland is British. I don't really think that's going to affect the Spider-Man character that much. I mean, it's not going to affect the quality of the film. It's just that when you look at Tobey Maguire, American Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield, British Spider-Man, I think the main differences in their performances were their own skills as an actor. And even if you aren't huge fans of the actors they're considering, just remember, they are super young, so Marvel and Sony will use them like Play-Doh. They will mold them to get whatever performance they need out of them. There's always been this ongoing Disney joke about how they find talent. Like, they don't find people on the street, they grow them genetically in vats. Now that Marvel is part of Disney, maybe they'll start growing their own actors in vats too. All that aside though, they have to find an actor fast. They started shooting Civil War in May, and they shoot for about 6 months, so they'll finish in October. So if they're almost halfway done with the movie, it gives you an idea for how important Spider-Man is to the story. Meaning that Spider-Man probably won't be as critical to the story as he was in comic book Civil War, but still pretty big. They wouldn't include him in the film if he wasn't an important part of the story. I know a lot of you were asking earlier this year if maybe Black Panther was going to get that Spider-Man arc from the comics. He'll get something like that, and because Marvel owns 100% of the character, they're probably going to position him as much bigger in the film. But his story will be a lot more politically charged, because Wakanda has all that vibranium. Vibranium is like the oil of the Marvel Universe, like the most precious resource. Every other first world nation is going to want a piece of it, including major corporations like Stark Industries. So if you want to make real-world allegory, Wakanda is like Iraq, vibranium is oil, so you have like the Iraq war brewing. The character Black Panther, though, isn't going to be an impressionable teenager. He's actually one of the richest people on the planet in the Marvel Universe. Seriously, vibranium, way more valuable than oil. But even he isn't going to get like the Civil War Spider-Man arc. Spider-Man in the comics was already friends with the Avengers, so he was torn between friends, between Captain America and Iron Man. In the movies, the Avengers just learned that Wakanda was a place. They didn't even know it existed. During Age of Ultron, Bruce Banner could barely pronounce it. Like, that's how little they knew about it. So I don't think any of them have even met Black Panther yet. Although, Tony Stark kind of rides off into the sunset. Maybe he tried to track him down. Like, maybe I could do something with all this vibranium. The big question, though, is what's going on with Spider-Man in the movie? What's going on with the character? The good thing about that is that Kevin Feige has said a few things. First off, he's already web-slinging around New York City. He's already got his powers in like a lo-fi homemade version of his costume. But he hasn't had any like big mega fights, so he's not really on the radar in the way that Daredevil just landed on the public radar. At the end of Daredevil Season 1, like there have been people writing about the devil of Hell's Kitchen, and that hasn't happened for Spider-Man yet. 2, because he's already web-slinging around right now, there's not going to be a Spider-Bite origin story to slow the movie down. There might be a brief flashback, but that's probably it. It's really Civil War that's going to deal with explaining the character so that whenever the Sony films pick up, they won't have to spend the first 20 minutes of the movie doing an origin story. I think a lot of the legwork in explaining this new Spider-Man to people who have never seen a Spider-Man movie, never read a comic, is going to be done between his arc in Civil War and like extra marketing material from Marvel and Sony. So if they do like flashbacks to his origin in the first Sony Spider-Man film, it'll be like 5 or 10 minutes tops. Everybody has seen that Uncle Ben story so many times. On to number 3, Kevin Feige also said that this version of the character would be the most classically wisecracking, funny Peter Parker we've seen. Everybody has their favorite version from the comics, but I think the biggest Spider-Man comic book writers right now that are going to have input on the film or the character are Brian Michael Bendis and Dan Slott. Dan Slott actually just took over the Spider-Man title again. And just to be clear, the new version of Peter Parker that just debuted in the comics, he's not going to be like that in the film. He's way older, there's a child, he actually kills Venom. Like, it's not going to be like that, it's not going to be that dark. Think like classic Bendis Ultimate Spider-Man, a high schooler who talks and acts like an actual high schooler. Like I said, these next 4 Spider-Man appearances are probably going to be like freshman year in Civil War, then the standalone films it'll be sophomore, junior, senior year. If you're looking for a really good wisecracking Spider-Man run, something that'll be close to what you'll see in the movie, I would just read that original Bendis Ultimate Spider-Man. Just go all the way back to the beginning of that. That actually reminds me, I don't think I've done like a top 5 Spider-Man stories video, so I'll probably try and do that in the next couple of weeks, definitely before Comic-Con, so be sure to subscribe to get that. If there are any other like Spider-Man specific videos you guys want, just let me know. Marvel isn't going to Comic-Con, I know that's like a big thing, but there will be a lot of Marvel Comics stuff there. Just to be clear too, I think there's a little confusion about this. Marvel isn't going to Comic-Con. It has absolutely nothing to do with what DC is doing. It's just that they don't need to promote Ant-Man, and Captain America Civil War is too far away, so they're not going to waste money on a Hall H panel. I just see a lot of people on Twitter saying that Marvel isn't going because they're afraid of DC, and that's absolutely ridiculous. That actually reminds me, congratulations to my Marvel giveaway winner this week, Mark Spector. You win a $20 Amazon gift card. Just be sure to private message me on the About page on my channel so I get your contact info. And because I didn't have time to make a second DC video this week, I'll announce the winner of my DC giveaway too. Congratulations to The Squawk. You also win an Amazon gift card. Same deal, just private message me on the About page of my channel. If you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, I'm doing a Marvel and DC giveaway every single week this summer. All you have to do to enter those is be a subscriber and leave a comment whenever I post Marvel and DC videos. Super simple. It works just like my weekly Game of Thrones giveaways, which will also continue all summer. So lots of fun stuff, giving away tons of stuff this summer. Real big reminder though, Game of Thrones finale this weekend. Be sure to watch it. Shit is going down. I'll be doing a couple extra videos for it. While you wait for that, you can click here to learn all about the rest of the cast in Captain America Civil War, and you can click here to start getting ready for the Game of Thrones finale. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tomorrow.